Returning to work doesn't mean you have to stop breastfeeding. I know this is a natural concern for new mums, so in this film we'll talk about options for breastfeeding during the working day, breastfeeding around your working day, and expressing milk so that another caregiver can feed your baby whilst you're at work. Here are some useful tips to help you make returning to work as a breastfeeding mum as easy and stress-free as possible. Try not to worry. This may be easier said than done, but if you're watching this film during the early weeks or months of your maternity leave, it might be reassuring to remember that your baby is likely to change a lot by the time you go back to work. They'll be older and their developmental needs and daily activities are likely to change. You may have already started to introduce solid foods, so they may be breastfeeding differently or less often. It's natural to have some worries about leaving your baby for longer periods when you return to work. Breastfeeding can give you a special way to reconnect, and it also helps protect your baby against childhood illness, which can mean less time away from work for you. Let your employer know your plans. It's a good idea to let your employer know in advance if you plan to continue with breastfeeding on your return to work. You can ask your employer to provide adjustments to fit with your feeding plans, and you can make a flexible working request if you want to change your working days or hours to enable you to continue breastfeeding. Your employer is required to provide a space that is clean and private for you to rest, not a toilet or a bathroom, and this space could be used for expressing milk if you wish to. Your employer may also be able to provide a fridge for you to store expressed milk. Practice expressing. Expressing breast milk is a great way to continue feeding your baby with your milk if you are not able to breastfeed whilst you're at work. Find the pump that works best for you, or ask your health visitor or breastfeeding support group for help with hand expressing, which needs no equipment other than a sterile container, bottles or bags. Practice expressing before you go back to work. There are lots of articles and films in Baby Buddy that explain how to do it. Do remember to listen to your body and give yourself time to adjust to any changes in your routines. Be careful about overpumping, which could lead to mastitis. When you have finished expressing breast milk, it can be stored in sterilised containers or bags for up to 6 months in a freezer, so you can build up a store while you practice. Just remember to label the milk with the date you expressed. For further guidance, watch the film Storing and Using Expressed Breast Milk Safely. Once you return to work, you can establish a routine for expressing milk that works for you and your baby. If your employer is unable to provide a fridge for storing your expressed milk until you go home, you can keep expressed milk in an insulated cooler bag with an ice pack for up to 24 hours. Then put it in the fridge or freezer as soon as you get home. Have a chat with your child's caregiver about safely storing expressed milk and what times of day might be best to offer your baby an expressed milk feed while you are at work. Breastfeed when you can. Once you start back at work, continue to breastfeed when you can, for instance at the start and end of the day. Some babies may want to feed more often. If your baby is asking for more feeds, you can try feeding your baby just before you leave them for work or as soon as you are reunited. Some babies may also want extra feeds in the night. If this is the case, you might find it useful to take a look at Baby Buddy resources on safer co-sleeping, for instance, the Lullaby Trust's film. When you're at home or on non-working days, you can continue to feed your baby as and when they need it, and this will also help maintain your milk supply. Most babies will get used to the new routine on your working days and continue as usual when you're with them. Some mums worry about their baby not taking a bottle, but your baby's routine may have changed by the time you go back to work. An 8-month-old baby can breastfeed when you are with them in the morning and evening and take a sippy cup and eat solid food when you're not. A 4-month-old baby that refuses a bottle may not if you try again after a few weeks. Just keep practicing and ask for help from your health visitor or local breastfeeding support team if you need it. Get support. There's lots of information, help and support on feeding in Baby Buddy. So remember to explore the Discover section. For further advice on breastfeeding and returning to work, speak to your health visitor, local breastfeeding support team, or call a helpline. For information about your rights on breastfeeding and returning to work, visit maternityaction.org.uk or workingfamilies.org.uk or nhs.uk.